In part 2 of this 3-part video series, we talked about what we humans have considered being the names of the gods are actually just titles, and these beings use these titles interchangeably. Sometimes Marduk can pass himself off as Enki, and Enki can pass himself off as Marduk, etc. As told in the Wes Penre papers, WPP, Enki also at times has passed himself off as the mother goddess, the queen. It can be very confusing unless we understand the character of each god and goddess among the alien invader force, AIF. In the distant past, both Marduk and Enki were incarnated on Earth. This might still be the case, but it's our understanding that Enki hasn't, or has only rarely, been incarnated on our planet over the last few thousand years. Marduk has, however. Around 2400 BC, he became the Lord of the Earth, whom we know as Satan. According to ancient texts, this is when he was granted this title. At that time, the AIF left humanity more or less in the hands of Marduk after a long and violent battle between Enki's team and those who supported Marduk. By the same token, when Marduk became Lord of the Earth, he also inherited the title as Enki, which literally means Lord of the Earth. Therefore, when we hear the title Enki thrown around, we could actually be talking about Marduk under that title. But why is there such a disagreement between Enki and Marduk? Why are they so antagonistic towards each other? After all, they are father and son. Well, that is exactly the problem. As mentioned in part 2 of this series, Enki felt betrayed when his parents appointed Prince Enlil Ninurta as the crown prince of Orion instead of Enki Lucifer, who was the eldest of the two, and thus was meant to get the title. Moreover, the queen and Khan Enlil saw Prince Ninurta as more suited to participate in the human experiment than his grandiose and overly proud brother, and this didn't sit well with Enki. Hence, Enki wants to prove that he is well capable of overseeing humanity's development, and thus he should have been chosen for the task to begin with, in his opinion. After the invasion, he took over the parenthood of humankind, doing it his way. He wanted to show that he is at least as capable as his mother, the queen, to maintain an experiment like this, and more qualified than his brother. Thus he made himself god of his own universe, which is a copy of 4% of the real universe, Ka. Because of some genetic adjustments he did on us, he started looking upon us as his own children. But does he actually love his children? In a twisted way, the answer is most probably yes. This is why the old texts indicate that he has affinity for humankind, and this is why he's saved us from extinction a few times. However, the love he feels for us is the same love a narcissistic human father loves his children. They are extensions of himself, and he wants us to grow and succeed because our success is his success. When we expand and grow, he loves us, and when we don't, he looks at us as failures. Because he has a narcissistic mindset, he doesn't look at himself as a failure if we fail, but instead he blames us. On the flip side, if we succeed, he loves us because we prove his worth. This also explains why his son, Thoth, has incarnated here so many times trying to enlighten humankind. Enki wants us to be enlightened, so we will come to him, our Father. And he wants us to do it out of free will. Thus we have all the religions and spiritual teachings that have been introduced here over the millennia. They all lead back to the Father God, even the Gnostic texts. Already early on in history, after the invasion, Enki noticed that some humans were more inclined to follow his directions than others. Therefore he created the secret societies, into which he initiated those he thought most worthy of being his emissaries on earth. He then decided to interbreed these initiated humans, whom he had given secret knowledge, so their knowledge transferred to later generations. These humans became what we today call the Illuminati bloodlines, or the elite. They were supposed to be our overseers, who would steer humankind in the right direction, i.e. back to the father god Enki. In his mind, they became our parents. This might also very well be the first source of narcissism in humanity. The elite started seeing themselves being for more than the average person, and they developed the same grandiosity and pride as their father Enki. They began to more and more despise the rest of their fellow humans. The bottom line is that Enki wants us to succeed for his own benefit, and for him we humans are just lovable objects. Lovable because he sees us as a part, extension of himself, who of course should be looked upon as the most lovable and caring person in the universe, worthy of his own kingdom and empire. He won't deliberately physically harm us unless it is his last option. Instead, he wants us to grow. Marduk, on the other hand, is the opposite. He does not want humans to grow. He hates humanity, and he shows it. Just like his father Enki, he wants parental control over humanity, but he wants to control us with an iron fist. He is the one who wants the singularity, and he is the one who wants to stop humanity's spiritual growth. But why? Now we're back to the family drama again. Enki's main attention has always been focused on humanity. He considers us his real children. In narcissistic linguistics, we would be his golden children, whom he has huge expectations for, and whom he believes can live up to them because he, Lucifer, is their parent. He considers himself being both the father and the mother in one, and because of the grandiose picture he has of himself, we humans can't fail. Marduk, on the other hand, became the neglected child, whom his father paid little to no attention to. So what happens in a human family with narcissistic parents when one child is neglected? The child starts rebelling, and they begin to develop narcissistic traits themselves, which Marduk has done to the extreme. One could say it's a form of protest. So what did Marduk do? He looked at humanity, whom his father loved so much, and started hating us. He might have thought, if I can't get my father's attention and affection, I'll see to that these humans won't get it either. He wants to prove that humans are not as smart and glorious as his father might think, and that he, Marduk, is the smart one. He wants to show his father that we are just stupid cows whom he can manipulate however he wants, and that we are not worthy his father's love. Thus he started a war against humanity, in which he worked on lowering our frequency and dumb us down. He began to introduce his own methods to win us over on his side, so he could take negative control over us. Thus he introduced technology that he knew would bring us to him instead of his father. He started planning for the singularity and what is beyond. He wants to destroy the human species as we know it and create a completely artificial humanity, void from individual critical thinking and with no means to escape. In other words, he wants to create the exact opposite from what his father wants. And as this escalates, the friction between father and son becomes worse and worse, to the point that we now hear of civil wars in the solar system between the two overlord clans. This world is run by secret societies and priesthoods, and has been for many thousands of years. But how do we distinguish between which secret societies are Enki's and which ones are Marduk's? is fairly easy. Does the teaching within a certain secret society include enlightenment, or is it destructive and leads to no spiritual growth? If it's the former, it's Enki's group, and if it's the latter, it's Marduk's group. Examples of Enki's secret societies would be Freemasonry, Rosicrucianism, Theosophy, and the Golden Dawn. Examples of Marduk's secret societies would be the Church of Satan, the Church of Set, and the Black Order, a Nazi secret society. In this same manner, we can determine who is behind what is happening in the world in general by watching the intentions and consequences. Does what happens have anything to do with spiritual growth, or is it destructive? If someone tries to teach humanity something, does it include spiritual growth, or does it make people dumber, rebellious, angry, and destructive? These are good guidelines for us to establish whether Enki or Marduk is behind the plan. We humans are presented with two alternatives. Either we go to heaven, Enki, or we go to hell, Marduk. Never are we presented with the third alternative, which is to leave this feud once and for all by exiting the matrix and go back to the car. As the visitor can probably see from this presentation, that would be the best option. Coming back here in more incarnations makes us even more involved in the cosmic family drama. The solution for us humans is to leave the battlefield altogether, which I indicated in my ebook Beyond 2012. Since the invasion, we humans have been used by both Enki and Marduk as objects or avatars to play around with as they wish, while we have had no idea what's been going on. This is the last part in the Orion Family Feud series. I hope this information has given some new insights to the situation we are in.